Hello, I'm Rex Childhouse, and because things on the internet seem to lose their date, today is Saturday, November 5th, 2022, and this video might actually be posted on YouTube a couple of days after it was filmed, because I need to build the rest of the video. On the earlier videos regarding our Wish of a Lifetime AARP series 1 through 9, serials 1 through 9, Saturday morning, I had the photos that I took on our Wish of a Lifetime AARP trip to Bastogne, where my dad's unit, the 101st Airborne, fought, and he always wanted to go back and tell the citizens thank you because of how they supported the 101st during the Battle of the Bulge, December 1944, January 1945. He was never able to do it. Wish of a Lifetime and Regine, at our counselor, our account manager, whatever you want to call her, at Wish of a Lifetime, set up for one of the days a professional photographer, and I know I'm going to screw up his name, Arlene St. Croix, I think is how it's pronounced. Ari is what he asked us, as I recall, said to call him. And he was the photographer. Interesting guy. Him and his young wife live in the area. He spent a year and a half or so in Mesa, Arizona, about 300 miles due east of us, getting his bachelor's degree. And during that, took a number of photos and decided that photography was his prime interest, and he did a good job. He was with us for 2.5 to 3 hours, and really enjoyed the work he did with us, and he added a lot to the trip. And our battlefield guide was Henri Minot, if I remember correctly, and he's in a couple of the photos. He was 9 years old during the Battle of the Bulge, during the ending days of World War II, and remembers the aircraft flying overhead, remembers the gunfire and whatever else. He was not inside the encirclement, he was outside the encirclement. A very knowledgeable individual. So I think Henri took quite a few, more than 70 photos of the time he was with us, and I'm going to show you some of them because, among other things, I appear in them, but he clipped a few that I didn't clip, so to speak, and he did a really good job. So these photos are not by me, they are by him. Professional photographer, did a really nice job, and he aided us by giving us some of the transport during our time with him, and then Henri drove us around the battlefield in his Pugo, which was fun, and he did a really nice job. Let's step off to the photos from Henri. This is one of the first photos that Henri took. We are at General McAuliffe Square, which is the town square of the city of Bastogne, and this Sherman tank was disabled during the Battle of the Bulge. On the side of it, on two sides of it, there's a couple of holes indicating that it was destroyed. I'm obviously on the left in the photo, Joyce is obviously on the right. On this photo here, the town has this bust memorial to General McAuliffe, who has since passed away, and this little garden is his garden, his memorial inside the town of Bastogne. We went over to the Bastogne War Museum, which actually covers several wars. Belgium has been fighting wars since recorded history, and this is a memorial for the Battle of the Bulge people, and if you look along the sides, there's dates and people's names. There's states that are listed up here, and
It's really cool. If it had not been going under remodeling, we would have been able to climb up to the top. There's an observation deck on top, but we didn't get to, so Henri took this photo for us. This is where we met Henri, our guide. That's him in the greenish and white jacket at the Bastogne War Museum. We were trying to figure out our schedule because things weren't quite as expected. Thanks to Henri, the photographer, we got him straightened out. At this photo, we're walking across what was no man's land during the Battle of the Bulge. The Allies, the 101st Airborne, and many other units, but the 101st Airborne in significant number and in command, were fighting for this piece of land. On one side, you had the Allies. On the other side, you had the Wehrmacht, the German army, and anybody who stepped in here pretty much died. And the town of Bastogne decided that they were going to make it a memorial, a tribute to those that had died or had fought in this battle. And in this photo, you can see these little concrete pillars in front of these trees. And what the town did was to allies to 101st members, to any individual who came back for this particular ceremony, they planted a tree in that individual's name and put these pillars and a plaque down in front of them, so you could, so you were memorialized as having been there, which was kind of cool. And we're discussing this now. These headstones, and I'll call them headstones, on the right, which you can't quite see the names or anything on them, they identify all of the units, Allied units, that fought in the Battle of the Bulge. So they included everybody, and if there was one guy from one unit, supposedly that unit's identified here. This is a different shot of those trees that were planted in appreciation of the individuals who came up for that ceremony. And obviously the sites are being taken care of or visited occasionally by us, by heirs of those, because some of them have flags on them, some of them have flowers on them, as you can see. And it's kind of nice to see somebody taking care of this stuff. As I said, I thought I was impressed by Henri's ability. It turns out he has more than 100 photos in the maybe 2.5 hours we spent together. This one here was an interesting shot. It was wet, it was cool, it wasn't cold, and he's literally down on the ground to take this photo with the American flag in the foreground, and Henri unfortunately behind a tree, but we are discussing something or learning something about the battle. A super shot. Here's a little better image of what those pillars and the plates are. So Melvin Davis was from the 811th Tank Destroyer Squadron, if you want to know what that reads, and somebody gave him an American flag. Somewhere along the line, the world just came to a stop. I think Joyce and Henri were off on the side, and I was looking at them, and they were talking about something, and I was just standing there thinking, and next thing I heard was a camera shutter click, and I looked over, and Henri had taken my photo. One of the flags had kind of drooping. I picked it up and was trying to put it upright and like it should be, and I will tell you that the ground around this place was tough. I finally got it in. It took a bit of work. I think it should have been up. A number of people are conducting tours of the battlefield. These are actual World War II vehicles that have been restored. They're kept up and running. We didn't ride in any of them. These are tours that other people get, and they zipped around the battlefield and whatever else. Was kind of cool. One of the places Henri took us to was this memorial to the 101st Airborne Division and the people who died, and This memorial is well maintained, frequently with flowers and whatever else. And if you can see in the background, other people were showing up to look at it and see it. And on the left side is people who died at this site, and don't hold me to it, but I think this is Easy Company 502nd Infantry Battalion. I will tell you again, I stated in the other ones, this was probably one of the five most emotional events in my life, was going there and seeing this. We were in tears, or at the verge of tears, numerous times. A lot of people put a lot of their lives on the line for what happened in this time frame, and it's on both sides. And the people of Bastogne did not disrespect the German army. There are memorials to the German army around here, but not a whole lot, and there's a German graveyard. Ari found this one, this little American flag peace banner tied to a branch, and showed it to us. This stuff is all over Bastogne. This town, 70 plus years, 65 plus years, whatever, 70 plus years after the battle, still remembers this battle, still honors the people that fought it on both sides. AARP, Wish of a Lifetime, wanted photos of us. We knew that. This just seemed to be an appropriate place to do it. And I thought it was a nice photo. Ari had a nice setup on many of his photos. In touring the battlefield, we actually toured the battlefield, and this is where Easy Company 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment fought their battle. These are the trees that are now in place. Obviously, kind of fun. This is a foxhole. The statement is, or the town, the people that are caring for this have decided that nature is going to take its course and they're not going to interfere. So at one time this foxhole was probably twice as deep as it is. It's being filled in. They're going to let it be filled in. They're just letting nature take its course. In this one, we're discussing something, learning something. Henri is very knowledgeable, very conversant in English. Very good tour guide. We had a lot of fun with him. A very educational tour, and he was talking about something or another. Can't remember the exact subject because it was extremely educational. And another one of Ari's ground level shots, looking over a foxhole at us talking. Joyce is laughing about something, and maybe I just cracked a joke or asked a stupid question, which I'm known to do. And I've read a lot about what the 101st Airborne did, read a lot about the Battle of the Bulge. I can't say I'm an expert, but I was asking Henri about something, and using my hands, if my hands don't move, I stutter. That's all there is to it. Another shot of a foxhole. This one was probably a command foxhole, since it was substantially bigger than the others. Looks like it could have held maybe a machine gun and a crew. The others look like individual, which would actually be a team foxhole, 2 guys. That one was a big one. This one here, we're actually looking at where the Band of Brothers was filmed. And that thing over Joyce's head is one of those things that you can scan with your smartphone and it plays an audio. We didn't do it. Henri was talking to us about this, and you could see downfield. This was a line of confrontation, but it was not a main line of confrontation because of the logistics of the battlefield, the layout of the battlefield. But it was used in the movie because it was clear, it was available, whatever else, and it did not degrade anything else. And now we're back into rain. A little bit of heavy mist. It was light rain. If you look in the background, the trees are obscured by falling water. And we're learning about something. I thought it was interesting that he's wearing a Yankees hat. So it's Joyce and I both commented on that. This is in my opinion, this photo is a majestic photo. It shows you how the forest is, and the forest has recovered from its damage. My dad said that during the Battle of the Bulge, the trees were frozen because of temperature, and what the Germans were doing was firing 88s horizontally into the trees with explode on contact fusing, and as soon as they hit the trees, they blew up and turned the trees into toothpicks that could cause severe injury to anybody within range. And seeing this photo, seeing what Henri did with this photo, just reminds me of my dad talking about that danger. We're traipsing the battlefield itself, where the Easy Company 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment fought. Henri is talking about something I actually wish I could have recorded his conversations. While we were there, decided that we were going to get one of the posed group shots. So Henri is standing between Joyce and myself, and it was whatever. It was emotional. This is, if you read the book Rendezvous with Death or Rendezvous with Destiny, or you read the book Band of Brothers, watch the movie, Beaux Jacques is Jack's Woods, and it was a scene of many conflicts as it traded sides back and forth. This is one of the sites we visited, which kind of pushed me back a little bit emotionally. I hadn't expected it. I didn't know it was there, and Henri said we were going up there, and I said okay, fine. It's the German cemetery, and this is traditional German Germanic tribe tradition. 3 individuals are buried together per gravesite. I can assume that they're side by side, but the town of Bastogne, being left to mark these graves, decided that they were going to use dark gray granite or marble and white lettering because it was a sad day and it was a sad event. The Americans are buried in Luxembourg, and with our tradition of not bringing our dead home from foreign battlefields. This is a shrine, a temple, a church, whatever you want to call it, that's at the German battlefield. The masonry work in this is just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. In my video of the battlefield, I have pictures of this. As I said, this was an emotional event for me. Thinking that, both sides lost fathers, brothers, uncles, whatever, in this battle, and Henri is talking about some of the individuals that are here. And not all of them are identified. Some of them are unidentified. On the left side, the second name down is an unknown soldier. Some of these guys were documented, the German soldiers were documented as arriving at the battlefield the day before and died the next day, and they were 17 years old. This is a sacrifice of life that shouldn't have been done. I'm glad Henri took this photo. This is a tree growing in the middle of the German cemetery, and how appropriate that life goes on. Life flourishes with all the death that this area stands for. Life goes on, and this was emotional. This is inside that shrine at the German cemetery, and Henri, the tour guide, stressed to us that the town of Bastogne understands that there were actually 2 portions of the German army. the Wehrmacht, the regular army, the guys who usually followed the rules of war, the rules of humanity. And then there was the SS, which were the fanatics. And this was for the Wehrmacht. Although the town doesn't make a difference between the two, they bury them and respect them all the same. But the masonry in this building was beautiful. This building was beautiful. And Henri and Henri both said that this was one of the doorknobs at the shrine, which it was locked up at night to protect it, and said this type of ornamentation was traditional. I thought it was kind of cool. I was walking in when I walked in, I wasn't quite sure what it was. I still had my hat on. That disappoints me. I would take my hat off as soon as I realized it'd been a long day. I was tired, mentally fatigued, I was emotionally worn out. But I love the carving above the door. Henri took this one without my knowledge, as whatever. He got back in front of me, and I stayed by the doorway as I was trying to put two and two to come up with something other than a letter. And he took this photo of me. I would realize what I was in and correct that in a moment. This was one of the plaques. The people that are buried in this battlefield died between 1939 and 1945. So during the occupation of Belgium, some of these individuals died. It was not just the Battle of the Bulge. I realized what I was in, but you can see the masonry work in the walls of this building. This building set me back for a multitude of reasons. What it stands for, whatever. This building set me back. Joyce and I are standing outside of it. This is the approach to it, the entrance to it, and you can see that the area is wet. We're both smiling, and our tour is coming to an end. And this is Henri, our tour guide, and super guy, very proficient in the English language, and courteous enough to drive us around, even though that was unexpected. He expected us to have a car. I'm glad we didn't, but we got it all straightened out, and it worked out really nice. And this is a group photo of all of us. Henri is on the left, Joyce, myself, and then Henri on the right. And this is at the German battlefield. And at this point, Henri would leave us. He'd actually been with us about 40 minutes, I think he said, past his expected time, and he had other obligations. This, as I've said before, was this whole event was probably one of the 5 most emotional events in my life, and I was glad that we had Henri with us to photograph it. I did take photos while he was there, numerous photos, and you see those in my tour. And Henri, to explain some of the stuff and convey the feeling of what the people of Bastogne felt about the Battle of the Bulge, about the Allies, about the Germans. And as I said, they don't hold a whole lot of animosity to the Germans, even though they were occupied for 5 years by German forces. But they honor the 101st Airborne and the Allies that fought the Battle of the Bulge for them. And at the end of this trip, Joyce and I, the next day, would tour the 101st Airborne Museum, then the Bastogne Barracks, and then the day after that we would go back to Brussels, and we were emotionally and physically worn out. This was truly a wish of a lifetime, and to say thanks to Wish of a Lifetime, AARP, to Henri, to Henri, to the town of Bastogne for what they've done. there's no way you can say thanks enough. This town honors what was done during that battle to a degree that I don't know how to say it. I appreciate what they did. It connected me with my father a whole lot more than anything else I can think of. Thanks for watching. Sorry for boring you. It was emotional. Thanks.